The members from both groups sat quietly as they continued eating their Christmas dinner in peace. Each of them seemingly have a good time while they were there, and even though the food did taste a little weird, it seemed to be everyone's delight for the evening. On the left side of the cafeteria area where Lee, Carly, Clementine, and all the others of the cabin were, Luke turned around for a moment, and his attention focused on Lily, who was unaware he was looking at her. He shifted his attention back towards Lee, who was sitting on the opposite side of him, with Clementine on his right and Carly on his left sides, from Luke's point of view. So, what's the deal with your friend over there? Yes, we were just talking about this Lily. Carlos joined in the conversation, as he only sat down between Luke and Rebecca. What do you make of her, Lee? Lee had to almost answer his question with the truth, but that would not be a good thing, as that could lead nothing to chaos. He quickly changed his answer before everyone except for Carly and Clementine would take in notice. Lily's a good friend. She's always helped us out and tried to keep things right. I trust her. With your life? Luke asked him. Lee thought about the moment with the younger man's life in question. He and Lily did have problems in the past, especially ever since she shot Ben and caused their relationship to drop. But Lily was grateful to him when she tried to revive her dad. But after everything had done to him, heck, Lily even saved his life from the St. John's during the fight at the farm. He was finally answered Luke's question with a moment of silence. Yeah, I think so. I would. Luke, along with Nick, shifted their attention back towards the other dinner table bench, where Lily looked somewhat sad as she looked down at her dinner. She then turned back towards Lee, before she would notice him constantly looking over her shoulder towards her. Walt is telling me her dad died. That's horrible, Sarah said, who was sitting between Alvin and Carly, admitted, unable to imagine what it'd be like if she lost her dad. That was her only family left. It's true, Clementine sighed, remembering back to the day in the meat locker, when Larry had passed out from a heart attack after getting himself too angry, followed by when Kenny had dropped the salt lick on his head without hesitation, crushing his entire skull. That thing can hit someone pretty hard, Luke told them, knowing that it was like to lose someone you cared for, especially when you lost his parents. She lost her whole family? Alvin asked. Damn. She did the best she could, Lee assured, but he knew 100% fact that ever since the events of that day, Lee was not the same since before, and this was truly devastated by it. I'm sure she did, Luke replied, turning away for a moment, to keep everyone noticing his sad expression. It was hard on everyone, Carly said. I bet, Luke agreed with her. Before long, Carlos was the first to finish his dinner, and stood up to excuse himself from dinner. On the other dinner table, Lily and Walter had finished their dinner, and stood out in front of the dinner table, and one of them made over towards the kitchen. Now the conversation about Lily was over. Luke had changed the subject to the most important and pressing member that involved every member of the group. So Lee, what are you, Carly, and Clem heading before you met up with us? Well, since they were now official part of their group, and there was no avoiding the question, Lee finally decided to inform them of their destination. He turned towards Carly and Clementine for support, and got a supportive nod from Clementine, but a mere shrug from Carly. Well, me, Carly, and Clementine were heading to somewhere up north, Lee answered. Have you ever heard of a place called Wellington? Wellington? Luke repeated, not being familiar with its name entire life. The hell is that? It's a place, Lee simply answered, not giving much detail about the destination he just mentioned. What kind of place? Luke inquired. Well, it's supposed to be a big camp, up near Michigan, Lee added. Michigan? Nick repeated. Yeah, Michigan. Fresh water, lots of land, and winters, so the walkers get slow, Lee explained. That sounds like bullshit, Nick admitted, suspecting that the place sounded too good to be true. Lee frowned slightly, beginning to get angry because of Nick's attitude, but kept himself calm, remembering that he still needed to be there for Nick, like Pete had requested, and had to keep himself from getting angry to not cause any trouble to further improve their relationship. Well, that's just your opinion, Nick, but we're heading there, like it or not. Well, that would be just fine by me, Nick agreed. Before long, Walter had decided to request a little favor from Clementine for a moment. Lee, do you mind if I take Clementine to lend me a hand outside for a moment? Sure, Lee agreed, being able to tell this man was kind enough not to do anything risk to get them in trouble. Clementine agreed and stood up and followed Walter to exit out of the ski lodge. The duo made their way towards the exit of the ski lodge. But what Clementine did not know was that Walter had no favor at all and merely just wanted to speak to her. Walter escorted Clementine outside of the ski lodge, and he looked back at Clementine as they were walking slowly to the ski lodge. "I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to speak to you about Lily for a moment." "Okay," Clementine skeptically trailed off. "What about Lily?" "Let me explain. Relationships are like a machine. You just don't throw them out when they break down," Walter explained, speaking yet in a kind, smart language to Clementine. "You get your hands dirty, and when you grease on the wheels, what do you say? Will you be able to work with them on that? I really do want to do both of." "We're going to leave in the morning," Clementine admitted. Hopefully he would not get upset, the older man. No, you gotta stay," Walter replied, not wanting his new friends to go back out there in the godforsaken world. "We have to keep moving," Clementine told him, but he was unable to tell them the reason why. "Clementine, in this world you don't have to do anything," Walter assured, in another attempt to convince her and her friends to stay. "They say the world's over, but I'll tell you a secret. It's not. People are now being more political now than they ever were before. At the end, we can't change the world. All we can do is continue to learn from each other, to empathize and use our heads." Clementine had no idea what he was talking about. "All war is a symptom of a man's failure, and thinking as an animal." Stenback, have you ever heard of him?" Walter inquired. His happy expression changed when he noticed Clementine had a confused expression. "Well, we've got plenty of time to catch up on your reading. My partner Matthew is amassing quite the literature collection. I think you'll like him. In any case at this point is, as long as we have our wits about us, we can make the right choice, right?" Walter asked, placing both his hands on his hips. He paused for a moment when he noticed Clementine with her head lowered down sheepish, looking worried about something. "Right?" Clementine agreed. "What's the matter, Clementine? Is there something you want to tell me?" Walter inquired, being able to tell if something was wrong. Her face, and she kneeled down, making her in a friendly manner to make it more comfortable. "You could talk to me, Clem. There's almost nothing you can talk to me about that would surprise me. I can promise you that." "I'm worried about your friend," Clementine answered, shrugging her words slightly. "Don't worry. Matthew will be back soon, and it'll all be just fine," Walter reassured, standing back up at full height as he beckoned over to follow him. "Now let's go check out the windows while they're there before the storm hits." The duo walked around the ski lodge to check the boarded-up windows. However, they spotted someone looking through one of the windows. Walter did not seem affected by her skeptically, but greeted her in a friendly manner. "Miss?" The woman leaned up and jumped in fear when she noticed the two. She looked around her middle 20s, and she had long red hair, was tied back, and wore a green t-shirt with a brownish hunting vest. And on top of it, she wore blue jeans and brown boots. She moved her eyeballs up for a moment and pleaded towards them in a friendly manner. "Please, do you have any food?" "Are you okay?" Walter inquired, immediately believing in her lie. "I saw a house, and I have a family. We're starving," she explained, gesturing her left arm back towards the way she came. "We live down there." "Of course. Why don't you come in, miss?" He paused for a moment, not knowing her name. "Bonnie." Bonnie introduced herself, keeping her sad expression from across her face. "Walt, I'm not so sure," Clementine told him. "We're just gonna let a stranger in like that?" "It's fine, Clementine," Walter assured him. We just have to get to know her, right? How much can this poor woman do?" "I don't think she can hurt anyone," Clementine admitted. This caused Bonnie to smile for a moment. "Thank you both really much. That storm will be on us soon, and I gotta get back to my family," Bonnie replied, appreciating that all they were doing for her had just gotten met seconds ago. "I'll bring something out to you then," Walter offered. "You don't have to do that," Bonnie declined, not wanting to sound too rude, whatever they had. "What about your people?" No, it's fine," Walter assured her, taking a couple of steps back to go and get some supplies. "I've got plenty. You stay put and I'll be right back." Clementine remained silent, as she did not dare taking her eyes from her, fearing that she might try something. Clementine had to admit she suspects that she could be working for Carver. But then again, why would Carver send only one person out here? I have a little girl like you, Bonnie spoke up, raising a smile for Clementine as she folded her arms together. She leaned down slightly with her hands placed on her knees. How old are you, sweetie? I'm 11, Clementine answered, somehow being able to keep track of time. I would have thought older than that, Bonnie admitted, leaning back down in full height as Walter returned, carrying a box of food in his hands. Here you are, miss, Walter smiled, handing the box of food over to her. This is too much, Bonnie said, feeling the weight as she accepted the box both into her hands, but at the same time, feeling a bit guilty for taking too much. I don't really know how to thank you. Don't mention it, Walter assured. The only favor in return. Just help someone else down the line. Thank you so much, Bonnie thanked, smiling as she thought it was time to leave now. I'll be going now. You stay safe, Walter told her. You too, Bonnie agreed. Before long, Bonnie had eventually left them and took the supplies down the hill for her family she claimed to have. Clementine and Walter began to make their way back towards the ski lodge. Clementine hoped that Walter had not just made a mistake by handing out the supplies to a complete stranger. A short while later, after their Christmas dinner, mostly everyone was tucked in the night to get some sleep. The former cabin group would need it if they were going to keep moving before Carver had the chance to catch up to them, if he was truly following them. Downstairs, Lee was making his way down the stairs, but he froze for a moment and startled when a voice called out to him. Lee? Lee turned around for the support beams on the ski lodge to see it was Luke that called out to him. And by the looks of it, he was standing or hiding something or someone. Don't freak out, Lee, he said, beckoning for Lee to come over towards his position. Luke, what the hell are you doing back here? Lee inquired, with him marching his way towards the younger man. Lee, I gotta tell you something, Luke whispered, holding up a photo for him to accept. The guy on the bridge Nick shot was Walter's friend. Lee accepted the photo frame, and his eyes widened when he saw the photo of Matthew standing together with Walter, placing his hand on his shoulder. They were now doomed, especially if Walter found out. Oh shit. See, I knew something was off, so I asked Serena about their friend, and now they're all worried he's not back yet, Luke explained. I already figured it out, Lee replied, knowing something was wrong when seeing the same food cams before the station. For sure. Damn it, Nick! Luke silently cursed under his breath. He knew there was going to be a fallout, if things get any worse than they have to be. I don't think Walter knows yet, so we have to keep this quiet. I mean, who knows what the hell he'll do if he's find out. Shit, man, I don't know, Lee admitted, crossing his arms together for a moment to think this through. I think we should just tell him. He's gonna ask who did it, and are you gonna tell him? Luke asked. It's the right thing to do, Lee told him, not wanting to keep every more lies than he had to do in the past. So it's right to get Nick killed? Luke clashed. The worst thought of his best friend dying raced around his mind if Walter was to find out. Because that's what's going to happen. You don't know that, Lee replied. Still, I don't want to take any chances, Luke admitted. But just because she knew then they had needed to get in to keep Walter from finding out the truth. Now, do you still have the knife that you found in the station? Because if it was Matthew's and Walter sees it, he's going to put two and two together. Lee placed his hand back pocket for a moment. Discovered it was not in his position. Oh damn, I must have given it to Clementine before we headed up here. It must have been in her backpack. Okay, well go and get rid of it. I'll find Walter and run an interference, Luke planned out, but then had another request for them too. Oh, and keep an eye out for Nick. At the bad timing, Nick had emerged out of nowhere and began to making his way over to the duo. He started a picture of Matthew and Walter, and then there was definitely going to be chaos. I'm right, what's up? Luke quickly attempted to think of an excuse for mentioning his name while Lee stood beside him, hiding the photo frame behind his back. Oh, it's nothing. I just wanted to check and see if you were okay. You coming to tuck me in? Nick joked, a grin across his face. It was the first time to see him smile since the death of his uncle. Yeah, Luke chuckled. Something like that. We have to tell you something, Lee told Nick, unable to hold in the truth from Nick since he was the manager part of the whole incident. What is it? Nick inquired, noticing his words of worried expression. Hey, if there's something going on, I want to know. Nah, just go back to bed, Luke requested to Nick. I'm serious. You guys can talk to me, Nick assured them, wanting to prove to the duo that he could be trustworthy. I don't know, Luke agreed, but this was technically a lie when looking back at the stupid things Nick had did in the past. What? Do you not trust me now? Nick then asked, suspecting the lack of trust due to him almost shooting Lee when they first met. And the whole incident at the bridge? Lee held his head down for a moment, followed by a regretful, concerned sigh. He moved his hand from the back and showed a photo of a frame towards Nick. Nick just accepted the photo frame into his hand, puzzled on why he handed him the photo. His eyes widened when they met the photo inside the frame, and now it was all coming together to him. Jesus, oh God! God damn it, Luke sighed, getting a reaction from Nick like he suspected would happen. Hey Nick, shut the hell up! I can't, guys, I can't! Nick refused, unable to live with the guilt of killing Walter's partner. Don't blow it, Luke told him, sensing he was about to scream out the truth the second he saw Walter. Blow it? Nick repeated, sad, regretful expression across his face. He was shocked too of what his just friend had told him. It's over. I have to tell him, Luke. Luke then felt like he was going to explode if Nick was being serious about telling Walter the truth. He placed his hands in for a moment, and at the same time, trying to convince Nick to change his mind. What? No. Hey Nick, you can't do that. Are you nuts? Lee remained silent for a moment, before two men were arguing with one hand. He had sighed and lowered his head down, feeling somewhat stupid for telling Nick the truth about Matthew. I gotta go. I can't live on that one, Nick explained. The whole bridge incident raced through his mind again, and it was haunting him. Okay, I hear you, but I mean, damn it, man, do you know what he's gonna do? Luke inquired, not only being the only one to imagine the worst thoughts in his mind. You don't know he'll do anything, Nick clashed, trying to look at the side of the whole situation. Are you kidding me? Nick, you shot his friend, Luke reminded him, unable to know anyone who wanted vengeance for someone for killing their friend. Lee finally spoke up after he was silent while they were arguing and couldn't figure of one way to make the situations right. Nick, I think you should tell him. Yeah, Nick agreed, taking one of the note the older man had just told him. Nick, I'm warning you, this is really risky, Luke warned. I'll just live with it, Nick assured, but deep down, he was actually worried what was going to happen when Walter reacts to his partner's death. Jesus, Luke sighed, realizing he was out of options to convince Nick to change his mind. Jesus, I can't handle this, Nick admitted, turning around and marching his way away from the duo. Luke sighed as he prepared to follow him, an attempt to talk some more sense into him. But for now, he still had a little task for Lee to begin with. Lee, just go do that thing, all right? He finished his sentence and began to following up Nick for the ski lodge. The second they were gone, Lee did not hesitate any wasting time and quickly ran towards the exit out of the lodge where the weapons were present. He quickly jumped down to Clementine's backpack, was unzipped for some reason. He dug his hand inside and shocked to see the knife was not inside. Shit, it's gone! Lee stood back up in full height, was trying to figure out what to do next. Maybe Walter did not find the knife and Clementine merely misplaced it? Or better yet, she never took it with her in the first place. He shifted his attention towards the doors and noticed Walter standing just outside, messing around with Matthew's knife, and now was clearly officially no going back. Lee, knowing that he had to do something and needed to do it now before it was too late, he made his way outside of the ski lodge, slowly opening the glass door. When he was outside, Lee merely stood a few feet from behind the older man, not darting away to say anything that would get him angry. Silence seemed to be filling the air for a moment or so. The wind whistled and the turbine spun gracefully. Lee finally spoke up after a moment of silence, hoping that for some reason him and things could get out of hand. Wait, Walter, are you okay? Mind putting that knife down? I've always liked this knife, Walter admitted, twirling the knife around in both of his hands, with it holding a cigarette in his corner of his mouth. He pulled a knife out from his casting, leaning it down against the wooden railing. Gave it to Matthew when all this started. I know he's dead. Shit, Lee suddenly muttered to himself, turning away for a moment, knowing when Walter knew the truth. Who did it? Walter asked him, keeping his eyes focused onto the distance of the woods. Was that kid, what's his name, Nick? I heard him talking earlier. Something about shooting a man. I could see it. I could see it on his face. Wasn't sure how. He fell silent, unsure of what he could do to continue speaking. Lee knew that there was no purpose on telling any lies to him and had no choice but to confess the whole truth of what happened on the bridge. I'm not going to lie to you, Walter. It was us. Nick shot him. He didn't mean to. Though, I swear. Walter's expression changed out to a shock when hearing the confession from Lee. He struggled to get the words out while he was still looking another drag of the cigarette to help calm his nerves. Jesus, I don't feel so good. He took another drag of his cigarette when he felt tears begin to fill up in his eyes. Lee, is Nick a good man? His expression changed out to slightly angered as he turned around to face Lee for a moment. Or is he just like everyone else? Is he just one of those people that don't give a shit about anyone but themselves? Lee thought about his question for a moment, obviously knowing his answer could affect Nick's relationship with Walter, and possibly Nick's fate. He had to admit, Nick has done some stupid decisions in his life, but he was a good man in his heart and was in the right place whenever trying to help his friends and family. He is a good man, Walter. He just makes stupid mistakes sometimes. Walter took note of what he just told him, knowing that Lee was telling the truth. He continued smoking for a moment, unsure of what to do next. The door to the ski lodge has now opened a second time, revealing it to be Nick. His expression changed into a shock when he saw Walter, and with the knife in his hand, he told him everything he needed to know. He was going to go out alone. I told him something like this would happen, Walter admitted, before leaving the duo unsure of what he was speaking to them or to himself. But he didn't listen. No, Matt always knew best. What's going on? Nick asked Lee, in a whispering tone with a hint of worry in his voice. You need to tell him what happened, Nick, Lee suggested. Tell him what? Nick inquired, pretending that he did not know anything at all. You know what? Lee clashed, being unable to try to talk to himself out of it, but there was no use now that he told Walter everything. What happened on the bridge? Walter disposed of his cigarette and turned around fully when seeing Nick had arrived, his expression as angry as it could get. The world is still hell. People like Matthew aren't coming back. This is it. And now he's gone. What did you do? Did you hurt him? Did you hurt Matthew? From a distance, it looked like anyone, Nick explained, raising his hands in the air slightly, as in case if Walter did something any regrettable with his knife. I thought he was going to shoot my friends, and I shot Matthew. But it happened real fast. I didn't know if I hit him. But when I didn't mean to. Walter was shocked and devastated all by the news that he had just taken in regarding the truth of his partner. Do you know what you've done for me? Do you have any idea? I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry, Walter. Nick apologized, showing his full honesty that he did not mean to kill Matthew and would not go back in time to take it back and prevent his death. Walter did not respond any further and merely stroked his fingers against Matthew's knife. Deep down, he wanted nothing more than to make Nick pay for his actions. But he couldn't. He would never forgive him for what he did. Without saying anything further, Walter tossed the knife away in a random direction, followed by turning him around and his eyes closed, silently mourning for the loss of his partner. Before heading back inside, Nick and Lee shifted their attention towards the wind turbine and noticed it began to spin faster than usual from the storm, causing it to make a loud noise. The duo merely watched as they stood outside the ski lodge when everyone except Sarah, Rebecca, and Alvin ran outside, coming to either investigate the noises from the wind turbine or what to see Lee, Nick, and Walter were doing outside. Walter, what's going on? Lily inquired. Lee, what are you doing out here? Carly asked him, placing both her hands into her pockets. Lily shifted his attention towards the wind turbine and panicked when the sound was getting too loud, realizing it was going to attract unwanted attention. It's out of control. That's going to be drawing walkers. We have to shut it down now. Carlos nodded, and he turned his attention to Nick, needing some assistance. Nick, help me carry the guns. Guns? Sarita repeated, not liking this idea, as she merely watched them from both inside to fetch the weapons. Lee shifted his attention over towards Walter, who did not seem to be bothered by the situation. He kept his eyes closed, with his keeping back turned from everyone else. He felt sympathy for him, of course, but there were much bigger problems now. Carly and Clementine merely watched as Carlos and Nick ran back as fast as they could to grab the guns, and only took a matter of seconds to run. Carly accepted her Glock 17 that Nick gave back to her, knowing that they were going to need her as her good aim and marksman. Lee, catch, Carlos told him, tossing over his Winchester Model 17. They were obviously good in need. Lee caught the rifle in his hands, but shifted his attention back towards Clementine, knowing that this was going to be dangerous. Clem, I need you to stay inside with Sarah, Rebecca, and Alvin. I can do it, Clementine assured, moving her hand into her pocket for a moment, before handing him something. Here, take my lighter. You might need it. Thanks, Sweet Pea, he thanked, raising a smile for a moment, but soon dropped it when he joined the others. Okay, let's get moving. Lily caught the Winchester Model 17 that Nick threw to her, preparing to head out as soon as possible. That thing's going to attract walkers. Let's go. Everyone, all aimed with weapons, made their way over to the wind turbine, except for Walter, who decided to guard the ski lodge. Each of them were armed with different types of various weapons, such as Glock 17, Winchester Model 17, Beretta 92 FS Onyx, and one machete. The whole group turned their attention towards the same direction when they were hearing something break, or worse, exploded. What the hell was that? Luke inquired, looking off into the random direction, where he suspected the noise had come from. Lily looked back towards the ski lodge and noticed the lights had been turned off, meaning the power is now gone. Shit! Transformers must have gone. I need to check it out, but I could use a hand. I'll go with you, Luke offered. Me too, Sarita said. No, 2 of us are enough. Everyone needs to stay and defend this place, Lily replied, not wanting to risk anyone getting hurt or killed for that matter. She turned back towards the others and gave them their orders. Rest of you, get this thing shut down. As Lily and Luke departed, Sarita opened up the power box to the turbine. The remaining people watched as they could, but saw nothing in the darkness. Inside the box, unsure of what to do next. Does anyone know how to do this? Carlos asked. Only shrugs from everyone in response. Damn it. I could do it, Lee assured, taking out the lighter that Clementine had just lent him. Well, we'll watch your back, Carlos assured, raising his weapon as he turned towards the others. Nick and Carly, scan the trees with me. While the others defended the tree, Lee, he turned on the lighter to see the power box better. He spotted the red button that must be the one to turn off the wind turbine. Damn it, it looks too dark, Carlos admitted, just about able to see anything in the area. We have to shut this thing down. Lee grabbed the key from the hook inside and placed it inside the red button, followed by turning it and pushing the button. The wind turbine slowly came to a halt, and the remaining group all stopped and looked towards it, praying to shut it off before they attract any more walkers. Something ain't right, Nick admitted. Yeah, Carlos agreed. I don't see... Carly trailed off as she looked into the distance and spotted some familiar faces. Fuck. Company! Out of nowhere, snarling and growling could be heard from the distance. The group watched in shock as the walkers emerged from the trees, making their way over towards the wind turbine. This was sure not going to end well for them.